All right, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Last Take. A big weekend in football. We got some football. We got some basketball. We got some baseball. So kind of before we jump into it, make sure you like, make sure you comment, and make sure you subscribe. If you want to mail us any letters, I think we've said a few times, we will not give out our addresses. But if you actually have something to say, I will give you my address.
I'm not firm on not giving out my address. Depends what you're sending me. I'm not trying to ask for anything, but if you have like sneakers, I'm a size 11. I'm a large in shirts, XL sweatshirts. I like Chipotle. If you have a Chipotle gift card. So comment what you're going to send me before I give my address to a stranger on the internet.
Yeah. So, okay, I take that back. I will give my address out for good stuff, not for bad stuff. I think that's fair.
I think that's a pretty general take on it.
Fair. Okay. Jumping into the games. First one we got was Packers beat the Rams 32-18. Rodgers made the best defense in the league look like average. On top of that, Devontae Adams was looking like really good against Jalen Ramsey. I thought that quote that he said that it's like, I'm not like the other guys you cover, was setting him up like perfectly for like an old takes exposed moment when he goes for like one reception for like 7 yards on like a slant route. But I mean, he showed up. He had a great game, caught a touchdown. And the Packers, as much as it pains me to say, I think they're the NFC favorite.
Oh, absolutely.
They have been for a while, yeah.
I think the Packers are clear-cut the best team in the NFC. There's no doubt about it. They really came out strong on Saturday. Aaron Rodgers is on a different planet right now. He's the best quarterback in these playoffs. I don't think it's particularly close. The Rams, obviously, with Goff injured and Cooper Kupp being out, you kind of knew that offensively they weren't going to get much done. So as long as the Green Bay defense could stop the run, they were probably going to win that game. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, you had a feeling going to this game. I mean, even though a few people were kind of high on the Rams because they beat the Seahawks, but God damn it. But a few people were high on them just for the fact that they had a great defense and they thought if anyone might stop Rodgers and how well he's playing, it might be them. But I mean, I think the fact that they put up 32 points and were in great control of the game the whole time is pretty scary news for the rest of the NFL and like the three other remaining teams.
Mm-hmm. It's really starting to feel like the Packers' year, just based off everything that's happening. I mean, you look at the Mahomes situation with the Chiefs, and I'll get to that. And I know the Bills are rolling pretty good. We'll get to them next. But just how they've been all year and the level Aaron Rodgers is playing at right now, in my mind, the Packers might be Super Bowl favorites.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with you. Think about it. They put up 32, and they're like the receivers didn't really play that well. I mean, Lazard missed a wide open, probably a ball that could have been a touchdown if he could have made one cut, made one guy miss, and he's still throwing to wide open guys half the time. I mean, I think Rodgers is somebody who throws people open, and the way he looks off safeties, the way he looks off cornerbacks, the way he reads blitzes. I mean, obviously he's a great quarterback. It's not anything new, that we're saying, but I mean he's making this team great. I think their defense is good. Jair Alexander is an amazing cornerback. But, it's not like they're loaded with talent on the defensive side. I just think that their offense is so good, and particularly because of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, that they're gonna roll through.
I do think the Rams are frauds to a degree, so I'm not going to go too crazy over this game. I mean, this is the same Rams team we saw lose to the Jets a few weeks ago, although the Jets weren't bad this year. They just ran out of games. People forget that. They were getting hot at the wrong time. But given everything we've seen, I really like the Packers' chances on Sunday and going into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I wish we could say more about it, but it was literally it was the Packers game. Looks like it might be the Packers' year. So, I mean, not a lot to say. The Rams kind of stink offensively and defensively. They just couldn't beat them. So moving on to the next game, which everyone thought was going to be the game of the week. I feel like this is now the second time I've said this. Everyone thought it was going to be the game of the week with the Ravens in it. Everyone thought it was going to be the Ravens-Titans. Boring. This game, boring. Bills win 17-3. People were thinking this whole time that the Ravens were, because they were hot, that they were going to roll over the Bills. But I'll get to this later when we make our picks. The Bills are the better team. and just because a team is hot, I don't think that you just necessarily have to lean on that much. I mean, you got to look at like the overall scope of it. So when Nick, we said this last week too, and we said this the other night. When you have to make Lamar Jackson throw the ball, you're gonna win. And they couldn't get the run game going, evident by the fact they only had 3 points. And they had to rely on Lamar Jackson. He didn't really make that many throws, and his receivers aren't good.
No, he has no. That's another thing about Lamar Jackson. I don't want to crush him as a quarterback because, yes, you're right. We said this on the show last week. The Ravens being ahead in the ball game and being able to pound the ball down your throat is a lot different than the Ravens trying to come from behind and forcing Lamar Jackson to throw every down. But he has no one to throw to. Like, Hollywood Brown is not a number one receiver. Mark Andrews has disappeared largely throughout the course of the season. So if they can't run the ball and if Lamar isn't making things happen with his feet, that offense is stagnant. But I still think even so, it was a closer game than the score indicates. I mean, they're down 10-3. They're driving into the red zone before Lamar throws that pick six. So, yeah, it was an ugly interception, and it ends up proving us right that if Lamar is going to throw the ball consistently, bad things will eventually happen for the Ravens. But the Ravens gave him a fight. They did. But at the end of the day, this game was just boring, man. That first half sucked.
Yeah. And I think that, the narrative of can Lamar win the playoffs is over. Obviously, he beat the Titans, so, good for him. He can kind of wash that. He doesn't have an 0-3 record sitting on his back. He's now, I guess, 1-3, so much better. But, it is what it is. I think the discussion now around the Ravens is how do you equip Lamar Jackson? How do you surround him with weapons? Is it going heavier on the run, or is it actually getting him a receiver in a really good receiver class that, can kind of make a difference for him? Because clearly it's not Marquise Brown. Mark Andrews is really only good in situations. I don't think he's not as elite as everyone thought he was coming into the year. He's no Kittle or Gronkowski like he was back in the day. Like he's not what people were making him out to be. So I think the Ravens really have to start thinking about coming into the offseason, how do we surround him with the talent, that matches his generational ability to make plays?
I think they kind of need to look at the Titans model, right, where there's still a run-first team with Derrick Henry, but they have Ryan Tannehill and weapons around him making plays. So I think that you can't really double down on the run because in today's NFL, you could run the ball all day long, but if you can't pass when you're down a little bit, you're not going to go anywhere. So I do think that they're comfortable with Lamar Jackson. I think it would be stupid to put into doubt whether or not you can win a Super Bowl with him. I think he's entirely too talented to try and make that case at this point in his career. So you said it. They need better weapons on offense. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them take a receiver early on in this draft.
Yeah. I'm hoping they do because, last year we wanted to see the Chiefs-Ravens, in the AFC Championship. This year, we're going to get to this, but we're going to get the Bills-Chiefs. But I think the Ravens are a really exciting team, and I want to see them in that AFC Championship game for years to come. But I don't think that's going to happen without building that passing game back up. Mm-hmm. So moving on to like I just said, Chiefs-Browns. This wound up being the game of the week. Chiefs won 22-17. Baker Mayfield looked really, really good. Like probably most of the game, he looked like, I'll say it, I think it's a hot take, but he looked like a top 5 quarterback. He was making great throws. He was accurate. He was throwing it wasn't just like dink and dunks where he was like having like completions, like easy completions. He was throwing the ball down the field to like receivers. He was making good throws. I think he looked really good. He was willing that team back into a victory. Nick Chubb eventually got going, but that first half, when it was all on Baker Mayfield's shoulder, he showed up. And although the offense didn't really look that great, he really, really showed up. And I thought he played a great game. But going into the second half, he started off with an interception, so that completely wiped out the whole good first half. And this is the play that everyone was talking about, was the fumble essentially at the goal line that rolled into the end zone and was called a touchback, where the Browns really could have made it a game.
Yeah, I know everyone is in agreement that's a stupid rule because why should you fumble the ball out of bounds anywhere else on the field and not turn it over? So I don't understand. It should go back to the spot of the fumble or take like a 10-yard loss or something. But to give that kind of momentum swing because the ball was fumbled right before the goal line, to me is stupid. But obviously the rule is the rule. They also, on the same play, got screwed by the refs because they missed a clear helmet-to-helmet, which in today's NFL, how it's being officiated, I don't know how you miss that blatant of a helmet-to-helmet. And the fact that it's non-reviewable is the stupidest thing ever. Like, we spent 15 minutes in the Bills-Colts game last week trying to figure out whether or not Pascal got touched before or after his knee came up off the ground. But a helmet-to-helmet that would take 2 seconds to identify is non-reviewable. Like, how are you trying to say, yeah, we are trying to prevent head injuries. It's the most important thing. But also, oh, yeah, helmet-to-helmet, non-reviewable. Like, I can't do anything about it once I see it clearly on the replay. So it's just so insanely stupid to me that a call that could have changed the game that much that would take 2 seconds to identify is non-reviewable. I don't understand that.
Yeah, and it's weird, especially because when they took away challenges under 2 minutes a few years ago, I feel like that was to give the refs and the NFL more control to get the calls right. And now it happened under 2 minutes. So you think that, like, even if it's like, it's okay, fine, you can't challenge it to a degree, but like you should be able to like review it and get the ball right. And they were like, and they reviewed the ball to make sure that it went out of the end zone. He didn't step out, like, did he get across the goal line? Like, they were reviewing the play anyway. Like, how do you not see that and then, change your call? So just a really bad decision by the NFL and the refs on the field. I thought it was obvious in the moment that he leaned in with the helmet, whether if you want to argue he hit him with it in, in plain sight, whether it was that, but he clearly went straight down. So that was a big blow to the Browns coming out of the first half. But then I guess you can argue that they got a break to a degree when Mahomes had to go out and go into the concussion protocol. I don't know if he officially had a concussion or if he was just in the protocol. Do you know?
I don't know. He's in protocol. Yeah, I don't know if they've diagnosed it yet. Yeah. It's weird because the hit that he took didn't look bad, which obviously you can't diagnose how bad a concussion is based off the hit, whatever it is. But then he got up and wobbled pretty badly. Like, you don't really see guys get up like that. So it was weird. It seems like he's okay. I'd be shocked if he didn't play on Sunday. Cowherd today was saying if he can't play, the NFL should push the game back, which I thought was hilarious.
No way.
I think he says these things knowing that he's going to get ripped on for them. He just likes the attention. But Chad Henne, another moral of this game, he's going to get overpaid by somebody next offseason. I don't even know if he's a free agent after this year, but somebody, and I think you might have said the Chicago Bears are just going to throw money at Chad Henne based off that game-winning drive.
Oh, yeah, and they're going to justify it with some, like the GM is going to come to the press conference and be like, oh, well, I mean, we saw he can perform in the clutch. You know, are you kidding me? He threw about 40 yards over a receiver.
Huge talking point that he was in the clutch.
Yeah. Speaking of that clutch moment, though, the big moment when at the end of the game, 4th down and 1, I believe, the Chiefs had a situation where they had to go for it right after Chad Henne just pretty much that was almost really bad because, I mean, he was in a situation where he could have been hit really bad. Luckily, he wasn't. But on that scramble, when it was I think 3rd and 14, he went for 13 yards, a really ballsy scramble, almost got it, came up short. And then Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, and Chad Henne run some sort of slant route where Tyreek Hill is literally wide open. And, they get the first down and, they put their balls on the table. and they made a play that, had they not gotten that, it's very possible they could have lost that game.
Props to Andy Reid for putting his nuts on the table and going for it there. I think that really showed the difference in the game was that Andy Reid was coaching to win. And Kevin Stefanski, who's going to be the coach of the year, did a great job with the Browns this year, had an awful game, just awful in so many facets. He had the one catch early on in the second half that was clearly not a catch he didn't challenge. Then there was a clear catch that he did challenge. So he really just had a brutal game from all angles. I saw a tweet said they were better off last week when he was in his basement with Corona. So Stefanski, terrible game. But can we get Tony Romo to relax? Like, I get how bold of a call that was by Andy Reid on 4th and 1, but he's literally just creaming his jeans, talking about how it was impossible. Like, it's not impossible. It's a slant on 4th and 1 to win the game. It was a very bold call. I give Andy Reid a ton of credit for it. but he's acting like he just saw the Odell Beckham catch to win the Super Bowl. Like, no, it wasn't impossible, Tony. Relax. So I put out an anti-Tony Romo tweet, and of course Cowboys fans find it. They were like, what the fuck? Like this is the worst take I've ever seen. I was like, all right, dude, I just don't like it. Like, he's annoying. I don't like his analysis. And they're like, he's the most unannoying person ever. Click on the profile, see it's a Cowboys fan. All right, moved on with my day at that point.
So, Tony Romo analysis, inside knowledge of like football and specifically like what goes on before a play, is incredible. He really teaches you about the game. You learn a lot about things that like people are looking for when like as a casual fan, someone who's I've never played football. I know you haven't either, other than pickup, but like you don't get the insight there. As someone who like doesn't really know everything that's going on at the line, he's really valuable and you learn a lot from him. But in terms of like a personality, he's really annoying. like the or the ooh, like every 2 plays, like shut up for like 2 minutes and let Nance do his thing and just call the game. Give me the football insight. Be the color commentator and just relax.
Someone just get him like 1 drink before the Super Bowl and like mellow him out like a little bit. Like it's like your buddy that's like nervous to talk to chick to the bar. You just got to get him a little bit drunk. We just got to get Tony Romo a little liquored up so he can calm down just a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe see things a little more clearly too, because he's just very emotional. I agree. I'm totally on side with you. I love emotion out of the announcer, but not when it's like, oh no, it almost feels like exaggerated. Like he's like almost trying to be too excited about it. And it just comes across as really annoying.
That was the counter argument I got to. It's like, oh, what? So you don't like emotion? Like, no, I love emotion. I think Gus Johnson is the best play-by-play man in America. He's great at emotion, but he gives it at the right time. I don't need Tony Romo calling a 4th and 1 screen pass impossible. Like, just relax a little bit.
Yeah. Who was the guy that said it was during Sunday Night Baseball? Oh no, it was A-Rod. It was A-Rod. He compared him to Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan. Who's the other one? LeBron James, Aaron Judge. That's what I mean. It's like that type of comparison where it's like, okay, you're just trying to make a stretch out of something because like I don't know, either you don't know what else to say, or you're just trying to make this moment seem almost bigger than it is.
I enjoy A-Rod just because you can't take him seriously. Like, it was like listening to the last few years of Mike Francesa. You don't listen for the analysis. It's for the comedic effect. Like, A-Rod, I'm actually convinced was liquored up. I think A-Rod was wine drunk on every Yankees broadcast this year. So, yeah, no, I understand it. I take Tony Romo's analysis very seriously, but anytime he tries to bring excitement into the broadcast, I think it just falls flat on his face.
Yeah, I agree. So moving on to the final game, this was the History Channel game. Bucks win over the Saints, 30-20. Both quarterbacks looked old, but Breeze looked particularly bad. No zip, 4 interceptions. It felt really sad to watch. Like, when like you're sitting at a diner and an old man is just like sitting there like alone and he's ordering things off the menu that aren't on the menu. And there's just nothing you can do to stop it. And you just have to sit back and watch, and it's just like, and like that's what it felt like with Drew Brees, having to like watch him throw 4 interceptions, bad throws, not seeing the field, like guys that were clearly not open. The one he threw to Devin White, the receiver was literally just still running his route, and Devin White's like, yeah, I'll take that, literally like right to his chest. So it was upsetting to see Drew Brees go out that way, I think.
No, it is really sad to see. I mean, clearly Brady's not at that level yet physically. I guess he just takes enough care of his body and just whatever the fuck the TB12 method is, I guess it's still working for him because, yeah, he's aged, but not nearly as much as Drew Brees has. I'm not a fan of the Saints. I was rooting for the Bucks in this game mostly just because I thought they were going to give the Packers a better game on Sunday, and I love Conference Championship Sunday. I like to see close games, but it still hurt to see Drew Brees go out like that. I mean, the guy is still a legend. He did so much for the city of New Orleans. I think in terms of an athlete meaning that much to a city, the fact that he signed there like right before Katrina happened, I think endeared him to a city in a way not a lot of athletes end up in the city they play in. So sad to see him go out like this, but still I think everyone recognizes him for the legend that he is. And you rarely see guys go out on top. I mean, how many athletes do you see? I mean, I know Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl, but I think he was worse at the end than Drew Brees was somehow. He just didn't have, Drew Brees just didn't have Von Miller and a crazy defense to carry him to the Super Bowl. So it's sad, but this is how it is. Ultimately, no one's going to think of this game when they think of Drew Brees. They're going to remember the Super Bowls and the passing records and all that.
Yeah. So I agree with you. Do you think that Drew Brees should have been pulled out of the game?
Like
it's like a tenfold question.
I think Jameis would have given them a better chance to win the game. Yes, but at the end of the day, it's not like you had some sure thing coming in. Like it wouldn't surprise me if Jameis came in and threw 3 touchdowns and they won. It wouldn't surprise me if Jameis came in and threw 3 horrible interceptions. So I think the fact that Jameis hasn't played this year, I honestly wonder though, would Sean Payton have gone to more Taysom Hill if Taysom Hill was active, because he has that weird coach's son kind of fetish for him. So maybe, but of course it was classic. Jameis comes in for one play and it was a trick play, but throws a bomb of a touchdown, which I thought was great because I love Jameis. But I guess no, because to pull a guy like Brees from what you knew could have been his last game, I think that would have been tough to defend had they not won.
Yeah, I'll compare it to this, and I think it's relative, and it's relative in the fact that Super Bowls are a lot harder to come by in the NFL than they are in baseball. But in comparison to World Series, obviously, it felt a lot like Jeter at the end of his career. How it was like Jeter was better, I think, than Brees was to a degree. But Jeter was definitely a bit of a hindrance to the team towards the end of his career. And I think Brees was the same way, but you couldn't take Jeter out because he had built what that team had become, whether it was culture-wise or all those other aspects of it and who they were in the past and winning. Like that culture of consistent winning, he was a huge part of that on both sides. So I think that even though it does hurt your chances, I think in the current, because I think that there's a level of respect in sports that a lot of people, it's like almost like unwritten rules. Like that's that taking Drew Brees out in that situation is just something you don't do in the same way that like benching Jeter in his later years was not something you do.
No, completely. I agree with you. I think the only argument there is, Jeter should have been moved off of shortstop, probably a couple years prior. No one plays shortstop till they're 40 for good reason, especially a guy who was never necessarily Ozzie Smith at the position in general. So Jeter should have moved off shortstop. But the other thing is those Yankee teams weren't good. They missed the playoffs the last 2 years of his career. So, if you put a more able-bodied quarterback in Drew Brees' position, the Saints are a Super Bowl team. Like, would you be surprised to see them plug in, even if it is Jameis, who, if he cuts down the interceptions? The Saints could easily go back to, the conference championship or go to the Super Bowl next year, just given what they already have in place. So I think that makes it a little bit tougher. But at the same time, for everything that we said, it's just not a move that Sean Payton can make. It's also especially not like he was coaching for his job, Sean Payton. Like, they've been through so much together. I think he was going to ride that out no matter how ugly it could have got.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he would, in hindsight, he would be kind of pissed if Drew Brees like, I'm coming back for one more year. Because Michael Thomas delayed his surgery. Sean Payton might have stuck with him too long. And everyone would be like, well, really wish you told us that, Drew. We probably would have benched you.
Yeah.
So, Nick, what are your picks for Conference Sunday?
So I touched on it before. I love the Packers. I think I like the Packers big. I don't think the Buccaneers are all that good still. Like, I know they're playing some good football right now, but I just think Aaron Rodgers is on another level right now. He's the best quarterback left in these playoffs. Packers defense has held up thus far. So if you get into a shootout with the Packers, that's not a game you're going to win. So I like the Packers. I think they're -3.5 right now. I like them by a touchdown.
I agree. So I agree with you. The fact with the Packers, I don't think that first game that they played where the Bucs absolutely destroyed them has anything to do. I think the Bucs were a different team then. Two, the Packers were a different team then. Packers have come a long way. They've become incredibly consistent. Rodgers is playing better. And I said it before. I don't think a team that's hot has the upper hand over the team that's better. And I think the Packers are the better team. So for that reason, I'm going Packers over the Bucs. What do you got, Bills Chiefs?
So I actually like the Bills in this game, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with Mahomes. Obviously, I think he's going to play. Who knows where he's at physically. But the Bills are just a really good team, man. And they've been consistent. They've been hot, from the end of the regular season up through the playoffs. I know they played a close game with the Colts, beat the Ravens pretty handily. The Ravens were also playing good football. Josh Allen is really, really good right now. I think he can go toe-to-toe with anybody. So I've been on the Chiefs all year. I've been saying I'll believe the Chiefs lose when I see it. But I've also been saying I think if there's anyone that could beat them, it's the Bills. So I'm going to go with the Bills. I'm going to take them plus the points, +3, and I like them outright.
Yeah. So assuming, again, this is under the assumption, assuming Mahomes is healthy and ready to go, I feel like this is almost like a pick'em game. And for that reason, I'm going with the Bills because I want to honor the formula. And the formula of a championship team in the NFL is a good defense, which is the Bills are average to good, depending on the day, I'd say. A decent run game, and a young quarterback that you haven't paid yet. And that is the formula for a championship team in the NFL. I think that the Bills typically rely a lot more on the pass than teams that follow that formula of a young quarterback, a good run team, and a good run and a good defense. But they are generally following the strong formula. They went more in the direction of the passing game, which is paying Stephon Diggs as opposed to paying a running back or the line, and that's working out for them. But the formula is there, and I love that formula in the NFL. I think that every team should follow it. So for that reason, I'm going with the Bills, and because I want to honor the formula, and I love it. So Bills over Chiefs.
And I don't want to call the Chiefs untested at all. Obviously, they just won a Super Bowl last year. They were in the conference championship the year before. But I don't think they've played a team as complete as the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. You look at last year who they beat. They beat the Houston Texans, the Titans, and then the 49ers in the Super Bowl, who, yeah, they had an unbelievable defense, but Jimmy G in that offense was nothing special. The Buffalo Bills on both sides of the ball are the most talented team that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to be faced with.
Yeah, and I think the take that the Chiefs sort of sleepwalk and have sleptwalk through the season is very tired. Clearly, they can handle it. They can handle coming back from behind. They can handle, pretty much any situation that's thrown at them. But I think the Bills in this situation are just going to be too much.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So moving on, big weekend coming up there. I'm really excited to watch that. Moving on, Nick, what are your thoughts on the James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets deal?
I mean, it was a lot. I believe it was 3 firsts, 3 or 4 pick swaps. Give up players like Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, guys who were, very important role players to that team. So it's a lot. But you're getting back James Harden, who, is a multiple-time scoring champion, MVP, one of probably the 5 best players in the entire game of basketball, someone Kevin Durant wanted. And I think it was a move that had to be made. I'm not a Nets fan. I don't watch as much Nets basketball, so I can't really describe, the effects of LeVert and Allen as well as someone who watches the team a lot would. But you have a guy like Kevin Durant. He's playing as well as he's playing. I've said this multiple times. I think he's the best scorer in NBA history, at least that I've ever seen. Just the variety of ways he could beat you. There was a lot of questions whether or not he's going to come back okay from the Achilles. He's more than okay. He's done everything right. If he wants to bring in James Harden, then honestly you do it. Because if you are Sean Marks and the Nets, you can't come out of this period, whether it's the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, of Kevin Durant, and I'm not even going to include Kyrie Irving right now because who knows what his deal is. You can't come out of this Kevin Durant period without a championship. And the way to win championships in the NBA is star power. So it's been clear just 2 games in that Harden and Durant are an absolute force together. They beat the Bucks last night. So it hurt. And if they come out of this in 3 years and they don't win a championship, then people are going to rip on them for a long time, maybe even more than after the Pierce Garnett trade. But I think it was something they had to do, and it'll be measured by whether or not they win a championship.
Yeah, I'm all in. I hate the fact that they had to trade their culture for star power. I said this on Twitter, I thought they had a perfect mix before the Harden trade of that really good team chemistry and culture that I think is necessary and very exciting for the fan base. And they had a good mix of that with the star power in KD and Kyrie. But at the time, there was a lot up in the air about Kyrie. I think it's a little more concrete now that they expect him to be playing most of the season, and he seems very on board with the James Harden situation as well. While a lot of people were reporting that he was furious that they would even consider it, but that doesn't seem to be true. The KD and James Harden have gelled very well so far, so I don't hate it. But Evan Roberts on WFN said this the best. They had a chance to be successful now and to be successful 10 years from now. They had pieces that were set up right now to win and to be extremely competitive, and probably were already the favorites in the East, considering how bad the Bucks have been in the playoffs the past few years. So they had a chance to be successful right now, and with those picks that they had, and with the young talent that they had and were building, they had a chance to be successful past this Kevin Durant era, but now they don't. So they, like you said, they have to win now. Otherwise, they blew not only these next 2 or 3 years with those guys, but the next 4 or 5 years after that. So, it better work. It better work.
Yep.
Yeah. So, moving on to, I guess, other general manager moves or lack thereof. Baseball's got continued rumors going on. The Yankees recently missed on Joe Musgrove. Looks like Kirby Yates is going to the Blue Jays. Nick, I know I'm really sad about this, but Tanaka's probably done in a Yankee uniform, right?
Yeah, John Boy had a cryptic Tanaka tweet, and he and Jake usually get their hands on news, but they don't like to really break it outright. So I think this was kind of his way of breaking the news of he's leaving. I don't know whether it's back to Japan, which is what I'm assuming. If it's another team in the MLB, it's going to be even more heartbreaking. But I'll miss Tanaka. At the same time, if his asking price really is $15 million, I understand why the Yankees aren't going to meet that.
Yeah, and it's sad. He's been someone that's been really consistent for us. I don't think he ever turned into the number one guy that people were expecting him to be, but he played through injuries. He played through a really serious elbow injury that I think people often forget about. He pitched through it, which is not something that's easy to do. He's been consistent. He's been someone that the fans really enjoyed. So if this is it for him, just thank you. And I really enjoyed his time in New York. But what the hell happened on Sunday night with the Luis Castillo rumors? What was going on? What was going on?
So the thing about Luis Castillo is I've known from the beginning that he's a pipe dream. He is a borderline top 10 pitcher in baseball. He's 28 years old. He has 3 years of team control left. He's making just over $4 million this year, I believe. So even a team like the Reds, who very well may sell off pieces, has no immediate motivation to trade Luis Castillo. This isn't the Cleveland Indians getting rid of Francisco Lindor because it's his last year before free agency. The Reds could sell off assets and still keep Luis Castillo. So his value is very high. A couple weeks ago, though, Sweeney Murdy did say he could see the Yankees trading for Luis Castillo. Sweeney Murdy, very viable source, Yankees beat writer. Then I saw, who was it that said, Bob Klapisch, another Yankees beat writer, said the Yankees are in on him. Said there's nothing imminent, but Cashman has checked up on it. So it was like, all right, this is at least a possibility. Then see a few Dominican reporters. I think it was Hector Gomez was one, but the guy who was really reporting it, I forget his name, but
like Ricardo.
He was saying like Yankees getting Castillo, like the deal is done. Like it's as good as done. And people were like, this is the guy who reported Kluber. The problem was he reported Kluber to the Yankees a month ago. So that was probably more of an educated guess than it was a report. So I was getting a little bit excited. Still wasn't 100% sure. Jim Bowden came out with a report saying that, they were in discussions. He's another guy that's kind of just like a clickbaity, like former GM that just likes to throw shit out there, so it wasn't something viable. But given that I had seen that there was interest from guys like Sweeney and Bob Clappish, who I do trust, and now seeing these reports, it's like, ooh, like, all right, am I going to get excited, or is this another Dan Clark Machado to the Yankees situation, which is ultimately what it ended up being. I should have known that it was completely BS as soon as I saw that the deal was going to be headlined by Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar, which I love Miguel Andujar, but he's not headlining any trade right now, let alone for Luis Castillo. He's a throw-in at best. So asked for Jeff Passan to put us out of our misery. Jeff Passan comes in, drops the hammer, says, yeah, this isn't happening. Stop believing these people. The guy kind of backtracks and says it's done from the Yankee perspective, which I don't know what that means. Like like I saw one of my buddies on Yankee Twitter tweeted like, yeah, it's confirmed from my end that I'm marrying Ana de Armas. It's like, I just need her to agree to it. So it's like, whatever. But Castillo was a pipe dream anyway, and he'll go back to being just that. So we'll see where Brian Cashman pivots to.
Yeah, I was shocked that people were so upset by the fact that they wanted Gleyber Torres. Like, no shit. Like, okay, you said it best. Luis Castillo is under control, very cheap for the next 3 years. If he has a good year this year, which he probably will, they can sell high on him again next year. Like, and maybe even higher if he has like a Cy Young type year, because it's coming off a full season, hopefully, most likely. So, like, they're going to get maybe something better than Gleyber Torres. I don't know if he's one of the most complete prospects there is, but why not? Why wouldn't they go for it? They don't have to trade him. If they're really looking to save money, it's not like that's where their contract is. They wanted to get rid of Joey Votto. They want to get rid of Castellanos. That's the type of people they need to get rid of. So I was really surprised when people were like, oh, my God, they asked for Gleyber. See ya. Like, no, like, what did you expect? Like you said, it was a pipe dream the whole time. But I will say some of the rumors that we saw were just absolutely hilarious. So we have a little comedy segment here, a little bit that we'll do of fake MLB reports. I'll go first. At Real Jeff Hassan 6969 reports Luis Castillo's brother has been looking at apartments overlooking the Hudson. Family members believe trade is imminent.
Okay, that's a good one. I have one. So pretty much everyone that Yankee Twitter has been clamoring for has gone to the Padres. So here's one. It's a John Heyman breaking news tweet. Kyle Hendricks has been traded to the San Diego Padres for a bucket of baseballs and a $100 Petco gift card. So again, the Padres coming out on top of another trade.
Yeah, that's the Yankees tax. That's why we couldn't get him. At Wrong Wrigley said a Cubs executive informed Kyle Hendricks he was being traded. Hendricks showed no emotion, so the Cubs backed out in fear he wouldn't pass his physical, seeing as he is clearly a robot.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, cool.
Last one. At Sleeveless in Seattle suggested the Mariners were in on another blockbuster trade with the Mets after seeing unread messages from their former GM, but it turns out it was just a wrong number.
Oh, no. Segue that into another Jeff Passan bomb that the Mets GM was sending dick pics to a female reporter after he got left on read 62 times.
Unbelievable.
The man broke Roger Maris's home run record in unanswered text messages and then dropped a dick pic.
Yeah, wow.
Unbelievable.
I'm glad they fired him. I will say Steve Cohen moved quickly on that. Like respectably quickly. So, I guess tit to the Caps to the Mets for, clearly putting their foot down on that.
Yeah, props to him for acting very quickly. And then I saw some takes saying he didn't act quickly enough. Like his tweet said like zero tolerance policy. And then one of the blue checkmark brigade, I don't even know who the guy was like, apparently you have 9 hours worth of tolerance. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, how quickly do you expect things to happen? I don't think he could have made it happen quicker.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and he was fired.
Yeah,
so like
literally.
the news broke late last night. I woke up, he was fired. Like
everyone woke up to him being fired. I don't know how much quicker they want it. And I saw someone was like, "Oh, they fired Willie Randolph at 3 a.m. So like they couldn't have done that to him." It's like they fired a manager on a West Coast trip because they knew they were going to fire him because the team wasn't performing well. This is not the same as a dick pic story dropping at 11:30 on a Monday night.
Yeah, much different. So Mets, good change of culture there. Glad they had that guy out of baseball. I don't think he'll ever get a job again. So I guess ending on an odd note, tune in next week. Go Pack. I got them in a playoff pool, so I need them to win. And Bills Chiefs, I'm pretty indifferent there, but I need the Packers to win if get some good money going.
Yeah, nobody send any dick pics this weekend. I don't want any of our viewers sending unsolicited dick pics. If your dick pics are solicited, that's fine, I guess. But nobody pull a Jared Porter, please. We don't want that for anybody involved.
If you do, we will cancel your subscription.
Yeah, cancel.
Cancel. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Later, guys.